Hey everyone, welcome back to Med School Moose. This video is going to be tips for creating your residency rank list. So in my previous videos, we talked about tips for virtual residency interviews, the questions to ask at those interviews, and some of the things that you should do after you have those interviews. So all of that for the most part is done. That being said, there are still some people out there that are doing their residency interviews. And if you are, I will link all of those videos in the description below. But for the most part, everyone is done with their interviews. They have their list of residencies, potential residency programs that you can match at. What are you going to do with that list? So this video is going to be tips on how to kind of work through ranking all of that. I know it's going to be a super stressful period. That's why I put this kind of like bright, hopeful background in the back of this here. But hopefully you will find some use out of this and it'll help make the whole process easier. Same disclaimers as always, this is by no means any professional advice, okay? I'm not an expert. These are just my opinions. They're not a guarantee of anything, but I am hoping that you will find something useful out of it. Number one is going to be list your priorities. So, like I said, I want you to sit aside, by yourself, no stimulation, put the phone away, all of those kinds of things, and really think about, the interview season, what's important to you, all of those things. And when I say list your priorities, I mean, what are the things that are important to you for your training, for your residency program, all of those things. If it's location, if it's being close to family, hopefully it's not very much about salary, but if it is about salary, research, global health, all of those kinds of things, I want you to physically list that out. I am a firm believer thinking through these things is great and that is helpful, but if you physically write it out or type it out somewhere where you can see it in front of you, I think that is 10 times more helpful. So I want you to sit down, list your priorities, rank those in order, all right? We're going to be doing a lot of ranking. You're going to be ranking your residency programs, obviously, but rank your priorities as well. What's the one thing that's super important to you? Obviously, if there's a program that you're interested in, but they don't have that one thing that's at the top of your priorities list, you're going to need to think long and hard about that, right? So I really want you to kind of have your priorities, what's important to you, going into all of this. So, if a program doesn't have that, and that's the thing that you care about the most, maybe you don't rank them as high. These are important things to know. So number one is going to be list your priorities. Number two, I want you to review your notes. Now, in my previous videos talking about the residency interviews and all of that, I made the recommendations that you should be taking notes as soon as your interviews are done. This is the time where you're going to open up that notebook, that journal, and kind of review all of those things. We have your priorities listed now. We know it's important to you. Go back, see what you said right after those interviews. I guarantee that not all of that stuff is still in your mind. That's why you wrote it down on the paper, right? That stuff is going to be your gut feeling immediately after it happened. Are those things that are the priorities, did that program have that, okay? And I think with these first two steps, you'll slowly kind of start to see, well, this is something that's a high priority to me, and this program had that, and I really like that. Or vice versa. This is something that's really important to me, and this program didn't have that. That's interesting. This is how you're going to kind of start to figure out, kind of the general nucleus of your ranking. So you're going to make your priorities, you're going to review your notes, and then one thing, this probably won't happen in this session where you're sitting down and doing it by yourself, but I think this is also important. Number three is to have a discussion with someone. I said this with the prior videos as well. After the interviews, talk to someone about how you're feeling, talk to someone to distract yourself. This is one of those times, I think, hopefully a fellow medical student, a classmate, someone who's in your same shoes, sit down with them, have a discussion, and really kind of try to work through these things with someone else. I know for a lot of fourth-year medical students, the rankings and the residency and match and all of that is like taboo and people don't really talk about it. I think it is good to have someone to talk about it with. For me personally, I remember my fourth year of medical school, after I finished my residency interviews, I sat down with my old roommate for my first 2 years of medical school. We were at a Dunkin' Donuts and we kind of just talked through all of our programs, what our thoughts were. I remember I had little cutouts with the names of all of my programs, and I was kind of just shuffling them around on the table. And, he was telling me, I remember when you had this interview, you felt this, or you didn't really like that place. And, that's kind of just like number two is reviewing your notes. That person who you hopefully was talking to, throughout this entire process can kind of give you feedback and kind of help shed light on some of the things that you were thinking and some of the things that you were feeling. And they can also kind of help to clarify that. So, this one, I guess, is going to be user dependent, but I definitely recommend having someone to talk to. if you are a type A personality like me and you want to cut out little names of your residency programs and kind of try to arrange those while you're doing it, that might also be helpful. Again, I'm a very visual person, so kind of seeing that stuff in front of me really helped me to solidify what I was comfortable with and, what I wanted to switch around. Number 4 is going to be rank everything now, and I couldn't help myself but put this meme in. I love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, so I just had to throw it in. This is going to be something that you're going to be going back and forth on. But my recommendation is when you take that time, when you set aside that hour or however long it is to kind of figure all of this out, I want you to rank everything at once. I know it's going to be stressful. I know you're going to be uncertain about things, but just get your initial reactions, your initial thoughts all down on a piece of paper. You can do it on the website if that's available. Just get it all down now. And then, you're going to go through life. You're going to talk to more friends and family. Maybe your priorities change in the next couple of weeks. You can go back and kind of review things, but you will at least have a preliminary ranking. And who knows, a week later, you go back and look and you're like, oh, there's no way that's my number 1 program. And you're going to be able to change it. And I think that's something that's super helpful. I know it's kind of a push to just do it all at once, but I really believe that if you do it, when you go back and kind of go through the motions of things, you will have a better idea of, do I agree with this list when I initially made it or do I not, and what needs to be changed? So when you sit down to do all this, I want you to rank everything all at once. We're not certifying it. Like I said, we have until March to certify it. There's plenty of time, but I want you to have that preliminary ranking so you can kind of gear your mindset as to what you want for your future. And then, of course, number 5 is going to be evaluate your doubts. Like I said, I know this is a stressful process. This is going to be something that's consuming a good part of your life for 2 months. Hopefully not too much, but it's going to be doing it. And when you make those preliminary rankings, when you talk to friends and family and evaluate your notes and all of those things, you're going to want to change things. Before you do it, before you change your rankings, I really want you to think about why you're doing it. Are you doing it because you think you're not good enough? Are you doing it because you think a program won't want you? Is it self-doubt? Is it imposter syndrome? Are you doing it because one of your priorities has just become so much more important and that program doesn't have it? I want you to really sit down, have an honest personal conversation with yourself. Why do I want to change this? What are the things that I'm concerned about? And if you talk through it and it makes sense and you're like, yeah, I still do feel that way, then change it. But for all you might talk through it and be like, well, I just got a little bit nervous. You talk yourself off the ledge and then you leave your rankings alone. Everyone who's doing this is going to want to change their rankings, and it's okay to do that. But if you're going to do it, I want you to evaluate your doubts, your feelings, your emotions that are causing that to happen, so that you're not just making a mistake and then, you kind of get into a dangerous spiral of doubt. So that's the end of this video. It was a quick one. Hopefully you guys found all of this useful. If you have any questions about the rankings or the match process or anything like that, please feel free to leave me a comment. If you don't feel comfortable with a comment and you want to do something a little bit more private, feel free to shoot me an email, medschoolmoose@gmail.com. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you have any suggestions for future videos or things that I can do to get better, please let me know. Good luck with this process. You got this. I believe in you, and stay tuned for my next video coming soon.